Hey guys, today we are going to be graphing sine and cosine functions. So if you will please go ahead and get out pencil, paper, make sure you write these down. We're going to be going over some notes and a few examples. Remember, if I am going too fast at any time, you can always pause it, catch up, and then keep going. So the setup for a sine or cosine formula, I'm just going to use sine, is y equals a sine of bx plus c. And I'm going to tell you what all these letters stand for. So A is amplitude, and this is simply the distance from the middle of the graph to the top. Okay, as this is distance, distance can never be negative, so this is always positive. Okay, distance cannot be negative. The next letter is B, but B doesn't actually have anything directly. It's part of a formula. So period, which equals 2 pi over b. So here's where b comes into play. This is one rotation of the curve. So it's been a long time since we've talked about trig functions, but remember, trig functions are just functions that go up and down forever. They're always the same height, always go to the same top and bottom, and it's going to change how quickly it goes up and down. And then the last thing is C, and C is your midline. And this is the middle of the graph. So trig functions can look different, so I just want to show you a few just so you can see examples of them. So they can do this. Okay. Oops, sorry. Can't even see it. It just goes up and down forever. Mind you, this is a very rough sketch. They can be taller and skinnier. They can be wider, flatter. Okay, these are really rough sketches, but you can see it's just a curve that goes up and down forever. So I do want to show you where all of these vocabulary words are on a graph. This is a sine graph. So your midline is the middle. So if I was to cut this graph right down the middle, sometimes it's the x-axis, sometimes it's not. That's your midline. Cuts it in half. Your amplitude is the distance from the midline to the top. So however far that is. And your period is one rotation. So notice this graph is just going to keep going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down forever. One period is just one section. So as soon as it repeats itself, that's a new period. So for instance, I started here going up. When I get to that same spot going down, so here I'm going down. When I hit that same spot again going up, that's here. That means from here to here is a period. Okay, so once your graph repeats, it makes a period. Oftentimes in this unit, your period will be in terms of pi, so it'll be 2 pi or 1 pi or 4 pi, something like that. Just keep that in mind that we're going to be dealing with pi in this unit. All right, so some examples. Remember, pause this so you can take a second to draw this. I'm going to go ahead and answer them. So you learned in the previous lesson how to determine if something is sine or cosine. I want you to look, did it go through the origin or did it go around the origin? Now you do have to be careful of your midline, which is also a vertical shift. So I want you to just note this can also be called vertical shift. That moves your graph up and down. So if it was through the midline and then it got shifted up, that's going to change that. So just be really careful looking for your midline. For this one, the midline goes through the origin, so it didn't get shifted up or down. So this is a sine graph because it goes through the origin. My midline is right here, because that's the middle, so it's at 0. My amplitude is how high the graph goes, so I'm going to count from the midline to the top, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, amplitude is always positive. And your period is where it repeats itself. So this is easy to find if you start at the origin. Remember, I'm here going up. So when do I hit the x-axis going up again? Right here. That's at 2 pi. Again, like I said, you're going to have a lot of pi when you're dealing with period. So just follow it until you're in the same spot you started. For instance, I started on the x-axis going up. So when I'm at the x-axis going up again. For cosine graphs, let's just pretend I had started at 4. When would I hit 4 again? That's a period. Okay. So this is your first example. This is how you identify the different pieces using a graph. Now we're going to identify them using an equation. So remember, here's A, here's B, here's C. Midline is C, so midline is 5. Amplitude is A. I do not care if there's a negative in front of it. Your amplitude is always positive. So this is 3. Now period is not just B. Do not put 2. That would be incorrect. Period, remember, is 2 pi over B. That's your formula. Well, B in this problem is 2. So 2 pi over 2, those cancel out. My period is pi. So do not just tell me that the period is 2, and it's not 2x either. Okay, you actually have to plug it into the formula. All right, 2 more examples. So again, A, B, and C. Now be careful. B is not x. There is not a number in front of x. When there's a number missing, it's automatically 1. Okay? So midline is C. Midline can be negative. That means this graph was shifted down 3. Okay? Your vertical shift went down 3. Amplitude is A. My period is not 1. It is not 1x. It is 2 pi over B, which in this problem is 2 pi over 1. 2 pi over 1 is just 2 pi. And the last one, another graph one. So again, see, did it go through the origin? First of all, pay attention to your midline. Here my midline's at the middle, so I'm good. Midline was 0. It goes through the origin, which makes it sine. Amplitude, how high did it go? Or how low, doesn't matter. They're the same number. This one went to 2. Now, be careful, because this one went down first from the origin and was going down. This is a negative sine graph, just as kind of a heads up. So my period would be where it repeats. I'm here going down, at the x-axis going down. So when do I hit the x-axis going down again? 2 pi. Just so you know, 2 pi is your period a lot. I do want to also give you practice writing the equation, so I'm going to do that with this one. So my amplitude is 2, so we got y equals 2. It was a negative sine graph, which means the negative actually goes out front and then sine. My period is 2 pi, so I have to think about what would B have to be to get 2 pi. So if you think about it, 2 pi over B in this problem was 2 pi. What would cause this equation to be true? If B was 1. So I can say 1x or just x is fine. And then my midline 0, you can put plus 0 if you want, but you don't have to. So this is how you get the equation from this stuff. Alright guys, and that is all for today. Have a good day.